Since Solskjaer departed, what have you made of the run of games, the level of performance? Any change under Ralph Rangnick?
Not really, no. If anything, possibly a little bit worse. We all thought about this high pressing game he was going to bring to us. It hasn't really worked out, maybe in that Jurgen Klopp style. Whether these players are suited to that style of football is yet to be seen, because they haven't really adjusted that well to it. I don't think our performances have been good enough, and you can see by where they are in the league. Fourth is probably the best they can do. They're a long way still behind the likes of Chelsea, City and Liverpool. We know that. And they've got to improve drastically. We all said at the start of the season this should be a team, a squad of players that should be challenging for that league title, but they've looked way short of that. We know they've got talent. These players have got talent. There's a lot of money being spent on this squad. The one glaringly obvious thing over the last few weeks, especially for me, has been when they don't have the ball. Out of possession, they are a lazy team, a lazy group of players, and that has to come from the manager. Because when I played, even playing for the youth teams with Eric Harrison involved, and you're ready for the first team, there's always that little bit of fear. If you don't work hard enough, you're going to be left out of this team. This team, under this manager, I don't think there's an element of fear there at all. I think they play, they go and do what they want. Defensively, they're not working well enough as a team, and they're doing that because they have no fear of what's leading them, and that has to improve massively if they're going to get that full position. Because Tottenham, Arsenal, they won't go away. West Ham, I'm not too sure about. So, look, having talent's brilliant, but as Arnold will tell you, as every professional footballer will tell you, if you're not prepared to work, you're going to get results like Manchester United get.
Alan, can you believe the United team that you used to play against? This guy got 11 Premier League titles, and he's saying the current team are lazy. This is Manchester United.
Yeah, but you can't keep comparing Man United now to Man United what they were.
What I'm saying is,
they set the standards
you signed
many
United,
years ago,
and they were accused of being lazy. Should you?
I don't care who you play for, whether it's Man United, Rochdale, Oldham, Newcastle, or Barcelona. You should never ever be lazy. You're a privileged person to be a professional footballer. I don't care whether you're on £100 a week or £100 a week. The one thing you should never, ever be accused of is being lazy. And if you are, you should have incredible talent to get away from that. And there are not many players like that. So it doesn't matter who you play for. I think he's walked into a very difficult situation, Ralph Rangnick, in terms of where Man United are now as a football club. I think it's chaotic. I think it's very messy. And I think you get that on the pitch because that's what it is off the pitch. Yes, there are some talented players in there, but I don't think they're anywhere near as talented as people think they are. I don't think they can't get into the top three. They're a million miles away from the top three, and they're anything from 4th to 7th in terms of what type of squad they are. And I'm not surprised as to where they are. Got good players in there, yes. But in terms of the money that's been spent, I mean, there's been incredible amounts of money spent at Man United, and there's been a lot of transfer fees that have been inflated over the years. And I think Man United are where they are. And I do think it's unfair to compare at times the great success that those boys had and the number of players, great players that they had in that squad. But that was it. That football club was a well-run football club then, and I don't think it is now. And I think it all stems from up there. You're seeing what's happening behind the scenes is mirrored what you're seeing on the pitch.
I slightly disagree in the point that I think with this group of players with an elite manager, I think they'd be a lot closer. I'm not saying they'd be challenging Liverpool and Manchester City, but I think they'd be up there with Chelsea. And for the last couple of years, 2 or 3 years, they've not had that elite manager. And Manchester United, for me, should have the best of everything. The club at this point is a mess, as Alan says. We don't really know
But you had
who's
elite
doing
managers.
what.
You had Van Gaal and you had Mourinho
Yeah, we did, but Alan, but I think this is a better squad than them.
Do you?
I do. I think this is a better squad of players than what they brought to the club.
What pool of player of this current squad would get anywhere near Man City or Liverpool?
Good question. Pogba in his best form would.
But there's the problem. As soon as someone says to me in his best form on his day, there's the problem.
Well,
you never have enough of them.
It's indicative of what the club are doing at this minute. Inconsistent. Every single player is inconsistent. The club, people running the club, are inconsistent with what they're doing. Bringing Ollie in, great for them first 6 months. That was enough. See, he wasn't an elite manager. As much as he's my friend, he wasn't an elite manager at a top football club. Now, to not be prepared when they're going to sack him, the sack was coming for him. To not be prepared to have this so-called elite manager in and ready to go was another massive mistake. To bring an interim manager, a fella who's a sporting director and been brilliant at that, built two brilliant football clubs with the Red Bull stuff. He's coached 2 years out of the last 10 years to a club like Manchester United. That is absolutely ridiculous. Yeah. Now, and I don't mind the fella. I like the man. I think
you feel a bit sorry for him.
Yeah, I think he comes across really well. And he's got a group of players that don't fear him. I say, a lot of our career, you was in fear of the manager. So it made you perform. You look at Manchester City and Liverpool now, I bet them players are in fear of their manager because they know if they're not working week in, week out, with and without the ball, they won't be playing. This isn't happening with this squad.
The question I asked Scholes was, and the first player he came up with was Pogba, and I think the Pogba situation sums up what Man United are about at the minute. He's about to walk away for nothing. They spent, was it £19 million on bringing him back into the football club, and yet after 4 or 5 years, he's probably going to leave for nothing come the end of the season, as is Jesse Lingard. So you put those two together.
And they're both starting today.
And they're both starting today. And there's about, 130, 140 million pounds. I don't care how wealthy you are. For those two players to walk away for nothing from any football club tells you where and who and what Man United are at this moment in time. Yeah,
an inconsistent mess. But, I've been a big critic of Paul, but he has to play in this team. If you're an opposing player going to Old Trafford and you're playing your centre midfield, you're playing against this Fred and McTominay all day long. Now, look, you don't know what you're going to get from Paul, but when he's on his game, he's brilliant. When he isn't, probably against your Liverpools and Cities, you might struggle a little bit in them areas, but where do United go next year to replace him?
Well, they don't even know who the manager is, do they?
Well, they might do, Steve. We don't know that, do we? They might have somebody lined up. They might have a Pochettino lined up.
Just getting back to your managerial point, I know you said at the time they should have been interested in Antonio Conte.
Yes.
When you hear Harry Kane yesterday and see the performance, say we've worked all week with Antonio Conte, put a plan together to go to the Etihad and win. Is that the type of elitism that you're talking about? That Conte's got that group of Spurs players who's just lost 3 games in a row to go to the Etihad and win?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. I think, I keep going back to that word, fear. I think he'd put fear into Manchester United players. To go to City and do what they did, the plan they had, the plan you have against Manchester City, it doesn't matter. You've got no choice against Manchester City. You've got to play in a counter-attack, and he's got to hope his best players perform. Now, Kane and Son yesterday were brilliant, absolutely brilliant. The best centre-forward performance I've probably seen for a long time from Harry Kane, and I think someone like a Conte, there's no doubt he's an elite manager. I still think there's question marks about Pochettino. He did brilliant with Tottenham, don't get me wrong. He got to a Champions League final, he almost won the league. Going to PSG, people are a little bit unfair on him, really, saying it's going to be easy in Paris, he's going to win the league. The big question is, what if he goes and wins the Champions League with them this year? I can't see him come to Manchester United then, can you? And then there's Conte. I'd never understood why he took the Tottenham job. I always felt it was a little bit too good for that group of players. Could he become available then in the summer?
I can feel and hear all the Tottenham fans chucking things at the television now.
I'll take it.
But the point is, and I think it's your point here now, whoever it is, whether it's Jurgen Klopp, Pep Guardiola, the structure of the club, the plan has to be there for any elite manager to have success.
Well, just look at the structure. They had an interim manager who then they gave it full time. They then got rid of Ollie. They then had another interim manager in Michael Carrick for a couple of games. Then they got rid of him. They then bring another interim manager in to get through to the end of the season. And by the way, once he's finished, he's then going to be an advisor to who they bring in. They've got a technical director. They've got a director of football. But that technical director is now on the touchline helping the interim manager.
I'm not sure.
I mean, goodness me.
Is he director of football?
What type of mess are we talking about here?
He's never really.
Well, Ralph Rangnick was asked and he didn't know, so...
Yeah, no, I'm talking about John Murtaugh as well.
Oh, sorry, okay.
I don't think he's actually been described as a director of football. I don't know. But do you know the one
That's
thing...
his title, though, isn't it?
I don't know.
It is, yes. That's his title, director of football, and right. Darren Fletcher's a technical director. Who the technical director is now on the touchline helping the interim manager. I mean, what?
He's training with them every day.
Yeah. I mean,
but do you know what?
Doesn't that sum it up, though?
Yeah,
See,
the
point,
club is a complete mess. Yeah, the club is a complete. But if you bring that elite manager in, and he sorts the team out, everything else seems to go away. Now, once your team's playing well, playing good football, up there challenging, amazing how much easier it becomes. You know, you look at Liverpool, you look at City now, everything's easier. Signing players is easier. You know, having the best managers there, it's easier. You don't hear anything in the background. There's nothing coming out in the dressing room. And it's all because you hear leaks now from United because they're not performing. They're not playing. The team is a mess. So that makes the club a whole mess as well. And I think just a simple thing as a manager, a top-class manager, to get the best out of this team, then all of a sudden them problems, I hope, will slowly go away.